Today on Judge Faith. A giant storm and a fashion show are just too much for these cupcakes.
The whole event was we were kicking off our college tour at Clark Atlanta with a fashion event. I didn't know it was a fashion show till the week of when she sent me a flyer and it said fashion show.
How is that very different from what you thought it was?
Because, I mean, if you think about it, people are in there for 2 hours to look at people walk down the catwalk. Who's gonna be eating cupcakes?
She does have a point, but...
And later, a bumper bruise in Big Bear.
I was driving on Big Bear Boulevard when I was hit by the defendant, rear-ended.
My insurance had lapsed because I'm a single mom and I was in 2 months behind on rent.
But they didn't tell you that they weren't going to hold you responsible for the damage.
Faith Jenkins. Her distinguished legal career began when she graduated first in her law school class. She quickly became a tough New York City prosecutor and then a preeminent legal analyst on cable news. And now she's the judge in her own courtroom. Her cases are real and her rulings are final. She is Judge Faith. Plaintiff Katrina Williams-Gooding is suing an event planner for the refund of a vendor's fee after the event was canceled. Defendant JAZMYNE BYRD says she was forced to change the date and is countersuing for defamation.
Remain seated and come to order. Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Faith Jenkins presiding. Your Honor, this is Williams-Gooding versus Byrd.
Thank you, Barbara. Katrina Williams-Gooding.
Yes, ma'am.
You are suing the defendant, JAZMYNE BYRD, for $300, the return of a vendor's fee.
Yes, ma'am.
And you are countersuing, ma'am, for defamation of character in the amount of $500?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, Ms. Williams-Gooding, you have a business called Sweet Heaven Cupcakes.
That's right.
And you paid the defendant $300 to participate in an event as a vendor?
Yes.
Okay, so why don't you tell me how all this started?
Well, I've been in the cupcake business altogether for about 3 years. I started my own business, Sweet Heaven Cupcakes, about a year ago. I've never had any issues as far as being a vendor or selling or anything like that until this incident with Ms. Byrd. She contacted me on January 23rd via email. She told me that she was having an HBCU college tour event, which was misleading.
When you say HBCU, you mean that's a historically black college or university
right.
tour? Okay.
So, of course, I agreed and I was excited, being that it was an HBCU college tour thing. She told me that the whole vendor fee was $300 and that I would need to do a $100 deposit in order to reserve my space as a vendor.
And what would you be doing as a vendor at the
Selling
event?
cupcakes.
Okay, and what was the specific information for the event, the date, time, and location?
The date was February 22nd, 2014. The location was at Clark Atlanta University.
Okay, so you didn't know her before she contacted you?
No,
So how did that happen?
I have a social media page, and she saw my pictures in my page, and she was interested, so then that's how she contacted me via email when she saw that.
What kind of social media? Was it Instagram or?
Instagram.
Okay.
So the first date was on February 1st. A week before that, I told her that I had the deposit and I was able to pay the $100 deposit. She told me that she didn't have a car and that I would need to, if it was possible for me to give it to her sister who was at work. I go to meet her sister on February 1st. Her sister had no clue who I was when I got there. She didn't know what I was doing there, what my name was, or anything. JAZMYNE hadn't told her anything.
You were going to pay the $300 vendor fee?
The $100 deposit. But she didn't, she told me that her sister was her business partner, but yet she knew nothing about me and why I was there and what I was paying this money for.
Is your sister your business partner?
She works as the production manager of my company, and she lived closer to her.
And did you just forget to tell her that she was coming?
I do have, and there's an objection. I do have a car. And it was bad weather in Atlanta during that time. We were going through a lot of snowstorms. And so I wasn't able to, my tires didn't have traction at the time. So I wasn't going to risk.
But did your sister know she was coming? That's her issue.
I didn't text her to tell her because I was probably doing something else at the time.
So you just forgot?
Yes.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
So I gave her sister the $100 deposit money order, also some samples of my cupcakes. She contacted me via text, told me that she loved the cupcake, she got the deposit.
The defendant did?
Yes,
okay.
JAZMYNE did. She then told me that I needed to pay the remainder balance before February 22nd, which was the event. Leading up to that time.
How many cupcakes were you supposed to make for this event? How many people were supposed to be there? Clark Atlanta is a huge school.
She told me that it was gonna sell out and it may be thousands of people. So that's why I was like, jump on it. You know what I mean? This would like really get my business out there.
So Ms. Byrd, what kind of business are you in? Do you organize events like this?
Yes, I organized events. The whole event was we were kicking off our college tour at Clark Atlanta with a fashion event. And so we solicited for vendors to come out and participate within the fashion event to sell their goods and their items before the people go in or during the intermission of the event.
Where were the people coming from? From the various HBCUs in the area?
From all of the schools. She would have sold out because they're kids and they love cupcakes.
So how many So how many cupcakes were you planning to make?
I was planning to make about 2,000.
Wow, and you were gonna do that on your own by yourself?
On my own.
Wow, that's a lot of work. How long would it take you to make 2,000 cupcakes?
Probably about 2 or 3 days.
Wow. Okay.
I also want to add in too, before I continue that, and I have an email here that you can see from Jasmine. She said nothing about a fashion show. I didn't know it was a fashion show till the week of when she sent me a flyer and it said fashion show. And I can give.
But how is that very different from the fact that it was a fashion show involved? How is that very different from what you thought it was?
Because I mean, if you think about it, what females are gonna eat at a fashion show? That's for 2 hours. I mean, for real though. Like, I mean, people are in there for 2 hours to look at people walk down the catwalk. Who's gonna be eating cupcakes?
She does have a point, but
I know I wouldn't, because I wouldn't want my stomach to poke out of my cute little dress or shirt. You know what I mean? So it was like, but I had already spent like over 1,000 in supplies. So I'm like, I can't back out now. You know what I mean? I might as well just go with it and pray that I can at least just get my money that I spent back.
So you took her the remainder of the $150 prior to the date of that event, February 22nd.
$200. I took it to her on February 17th.
Coming up on Judge Faith.
We ended up rescheduling the event for April 24th, and we invited the rest of the vendors to take part in that event. Every vendor that was a part of the event on the 22nd of February participated, minus Katrina.
Great.
And later.
Citizen Patrol showed up, a sheriff showed up, and they all were talking about their own fender benders, and the dad said, don't worry about it, this happens, it's a little tender bender, and that's what insurance is for.
Plaintiff Katrina Williams-Gooding is suing an event planner for the refund of a vendor's fee. Defendant Jasmine Byrd says she was forced to change the date.
Was there a written agreement between the two of you, or was this all verbal?
All this was all verbal until the 17th, when I asked for something in writing. There were just a couple of things that happened that just made me really eerie about the situation. She was just really like, she was just unprofessional, period. The first thing was me going to meet her sister. Her sister had no clue who I was, but yet that's your business partner. That was just weird to me. The second thing was we were supposed to meet and she couldn't do that as well. So at that point she said, you can come to my house, here's my address. And I said, I'll be there after work. I drove there after work. I get to her house. She comes outside at the car. She's on the phone in her bathrobe.
You didn't put the people on hold or anything?
I put him on mute, and then I handled the transaction with her. But it's not like you came to my house. And I feel like if I'm in my house, I should be free to wear what, if I wanted to come outside. However, that's my house. You know, we were still going to handle the business at hand. The business at hand was the money transaction.
And the two of you don't have anything in writing. So you have this event. How many vendors did you have for this event?
We had close to 10.
And no, you don't put anything in writing with any of your vendors?
Yeah, I did. I had sent a packet out of information. Did I not send you a packet of information?
She sent the packet, but it wasn't a contract.
So the
she
packet
said that it was a tour to 5 different colleges, and it wasn't. It was a fashion show at one.
Because here's what ends up happening. So you pay her the $300, and then tell me what happens with the event. It doesn't take place on that date, right?
The event, well, what happened was a week or two prior, Atlanta had a snowpocalypse. Like the whole city was shut down.
Right, I remember that.
There were, people was parked on the side of the road. It was so many snowstorms that just kept reoccurring. So what ended up happening was the school, we had an arrangement with the school to have the event on that day.
On February 22nd.
On February 22nd. Am I allowed to show?
Yes, please. Barbara, would you hand me that address?
And we had the event scheduled for that date. But Clark Atlanta, the week prior to, the whole AUC, which is Morehouse, Spelman, and Clark Atlanta, they had a family weekend where the parents of the students come down and they just spend a whole weekend. They canceled it due to the snowstorm. So they rescheduled it during the date of that event.
They rescheduled the family weekend on this date.
On that particular weekend.
Okay.
And so when it came to us trying to get a room, a venue, they shut everything down by president's order. So we couldn't do, there was nothing that we could do.
So then you asked for a refund, correct? Of your $300?
Right.
Okay, so my question is, why didn't you give her back the $300?
Because we ended up rescheduling the event for April 24th, and we invited the rest of the vendors to take part in that event. Every vendor that was a part of the event on the 22nd of February participated minus Katrina.
Great, well, that's her choice.
And it is, but at the end of the day, our money was already allocated towards other things, and
that's not how you do business.
Thank you.
What's your counterclaim about?
well, she speaks about me being unprofessional. However, her emails were unprofessional.
Okay.
I specifically told her that we were rescheduling the event. She informed me that she had no idea about that when I had sent her emails indicating that. Then she defames my character by going to ask other vendors if they got their refunds. And they come into me like, we have a young lady that's reaching out to us and she's asking us, did we get our refund?
So you didn't like that she asked other vendors if they were getting money back? Because she wasn't getting her money back, right?
Right.
When did you notify her that the event was not going to take place on February 22nd?
I notified everybody on the 19th of February.
I mean, that's 4 days, 3 days before the event. That obviously puts you in a bad position, but that puts your vendors in a bad position as well because she's probably already bought a lot of stuff to start making cupcakes. How much did you spend?
I spent about $1,200.
To make the cupcakes, and I mean, it's 3 days before. So if she's prepared, she has that stuff ready to go. So it seems at a minimum, if someone came to you and said, you know, hey, I just want my $300 back. This is someone that you probably want to continue to work with. I mean, these universities, I went to Southern University for law school, another HBCU in Baton Rouge. A lot of people know each other. There's a huge network of people in the HBCU network. In your answer, I know you said it was an act of God. It was an act of God. The snow apocalypse happened, and it was an act of God. Well, with contracts, when you have an agreement, which I do find this to be an oral contract, you can't add terms and try to change the contract after the fact when things aren't working out for you. Okay? That's not how it works. You're trying to change the rules in the middle of the game. So I want to say a couple of things. First of all, the fact that you all are young, living in Atlanta, you have your own businesses, you're trying to make it and do your own things in the spirit of entrepreneurship, I applaud you. I think that's great, okay? But on your counterclaim, you have not proved defamation of character, so your counterclaim is dismissed, but you do have to pay the plaintiff back the money that she gave you to be a vendor in that event. Judgment in this case for the plaintiff, $300.
Thank you.
Plaintiff Rachel Negrete is suing another driver for her insurance deductible and gas costs following a car accident. She is accompanied in court by her father, Socorro Negrete. Defendant Melissa Parham says the plaintiff stopped suddenly, causing the accident.
Rachel Negrete, you are suing the defendant Melissa Parham for $600, $500 for a car insurance deductible, and $100 for gas cost as a result of a car accident.
That is correct.
Okay, tell me what happened.
On February 15th, I was driving on Big BYRD Boulevard, bumper-to-bumper traffic. It was President's Weekend.
What kind of car were you driving?
I was driving a 2013 Honda Fit.
Okay.
And I was getting ready to slow down. Traffic was in front of me when I was hit by the defendant, rear-ended.
Okay, and what happened?
I got into the center lane, put on my emergency blinkers, very upset. Got out of my car just to see the damage that was caused to my car, and I couldn't believe what I saw.
Do you have photos of the damage?
I do.
Can I see it?
Of course.
Did you call the police at the scene?
I did not.
Okay, why?
Because nobody was injured. But maybe like 10 minutes later, sheriffs did show up.
Next on Judge Faith.
She came to an abrupt stop and I didn't have enough time to react. I pressed on my brakes and it was too late. I already had hit her. I looked at the damage. The damage was worse on my car.
Plaintiff Rachel Negrete is suing another driver for her insurance deductible following a car accident. Defendant Melissa Parham says the plaintiff stopped suddenly, causing the accident.
Okay, you admit to rear-ending the plaintiff's car. What happened?
As she was saying, on February 5th, I was coming home from work and the town was filled with tourists. It was a holiday weekend. And we were going about 10 miles just before the accident occurred because of the congestion of the road. And she came to an abrupt stop. And I didn't have enough time to react. I pressed on my brakes and it was too late. I already had hit her. And my grill of my car fell off and you can hear it crash in the street as cars ran over it. She got over, I got over into the middle island. I looked at the damage. The damage was worse on my car. She was crying and I asked her if she was okay. That was my first response. Are you okay? She said she was okay. And we both looked at our cars. She started it, I believe she called her dad first. He may have told her to take pictures of the car. She was taking pictures.
Did you take photos? Do you have photos of the damages?
I do.
Okay, let's see those. Okay, so this is your car before or after the accident?
After.
Okay, and the damage is where, on the rear bumper?
It is.
And that's a close-up of the damage?
Yes.
And did you have insurance on your car?
I did.
Was the insurance able to cover fixing the cost of the vehicle?
Not all of it. I had to pay the deductible.
Which is $500, which is what you're suing for today?
Exactly, yes.
Okay, and let me see the defendant's car. You submitted photos as well? Okay, that's the front of your car. Where's the damage on the front?
I lost the grill in the middle and the left where it's lifted, those were falling out, my side headlights, and one fell off while driving. I no longer have it. And then the license plate is actually dented in. And then my hood, I cannot lift it unless someone pulls it from the inside and the outside.
Okay, did you get your car fixed?
No, I haven't. I can't afford it.
Do you have insurance?
My insurance had lapsed because I'm a single mom and I was in 2 months behind on rent. And I didn't know my insurance had lapsed, so I got home and called. But one thing also, when the scene happened, she called her dad. He showed up, Citizen Patrol showed up, a sheriff showed up, and they all knew each other because they all work for the city. And they all were talking about their own fender benders, and the dad said, don't worry about it, this happens, it's a little tender bender, and that's what insurance is for.
Step up, Dad?
So that made me feel more at ease.
So it's your position that they were sort of telling you to forget about this?
They were just being very kind and talking about, the Citizen Patrol was talking about when they hit a deer, and the dad was very nice and saying, don't worry about it, this happens, things like this happen, that's what.
But they didn't tell you that they weren't going to hold you responsible for the damage, correct?
When I got home, I called my insurance and found out it had lapsed.
Okay.
I felt very frustrated. That made me feel more like, oh, now what do I do?
And now, Judge Faith rules.
Let me hear from you, sir.
Okay.
What happened at the scene?
Okay, on February 15, I received a phone call from my daughter saying that she was in an accident. So I was really concerned. I asked her if she was okay. She said that she was fine. So I immediately ran to the rescue. So I got there.
First car accident?
First car accident.
First car accident and brand new car. And I got there and I went to her and I asked her if she was okay. She said that she was fine. Then I went to her and I asked if she was okay. She said she was fine. And then a few minutes later, the police showed up because I had called them.
Okay. Fortunately for you, since you didn't have insurance, they did have insurance and it covered everything except for the $500 deductible. If you hit someone from behind, it's virtually never their fault, regardless of why you stopped. What's the $100 in gas costs you're suing for?
$100 because it was inconvenient. I was without my car for 3 weeks.
Okay, so you don't get that, but my judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $500 plus court cost.